I think I had it for maybe 4 months, maybe a little bit longer, just testing it, getting my head wrapped around it, and then I brought it into the agency and said, "Hey, this is a no-brainer. We absolutely need this." There was just at the top level, there was 513% increase in clicks just in that specific section, right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
then over 200% increase in the impressions of that section as well. When I go into Search Console and just look at the impression shift of the
Yeah.
non-branded
Yeah.
terms that we're looking for, to me, that's the
Sure.
biggest win.
Hi, I'm Kyle Roof, SEO and International Gentleman of Leisure. Welcome to Pop Insights from the Inside, where I decode success stories of pop users to find out how they combine pop with their own SEO workflows to grow traffic. Today I have Tim from Edge Webware. We're going to dive into one of his client projects. Let's get started.
All right. Welcome, Tim. Thanks for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kyle.
This is great. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah,
Uh,
of course.
Tim, we got the intro about you, but just real quick, how long have you been doing SEO?
Yeah, so I've been doing SEO right at about 3 years now. I came on with my agency, started out mostly to just do copywriting, and then that kind of just went down the rabbit hole and started the whole track of SEO. And somewhere along the line, as you know, there's a lot of gurus out there, so to speak. Somehow, I want to say it was probably through Matt Diggity that I first saw you, and then once I kind of got my head wrapped around like what you and Matt were doing with testing, I was like, aha, here it is, right? So kind of separated the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And then just through that and the connections and networks that you guys have, I just started following like the people that I consider, like legit SEOs and have learned a ton. So
Well, thank
it's
you
kind of
so
like,
much.
yeah, yeah, no, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose, but
Uh,
I mean, you only have so much time to read and learn and all that. So I feel very fortunate to have kind of found that community, especially the IMG. I'm a member of IMG, which is amazing. And you know, I I love the testing aspect. I love the open communication of all that stuff. So I feel like that in my short SEO journey has leveled me up quite significantly over just your average SEO that's probably in the same sort of time frame as me.
hmm.
So very fortunate for those resources.
That's fantastic. You mentioned that you work for an agency. Can you talk a little bit like what type of agency, like what type of clients you typically take on, that sort of thing?
Sure. Yeah. So our company is called Edge Webware, and we're a web services company. So it's kind of a 70-30 split. So on the dev side, they do web applications, mobile apps, websites, things like that. And then on our agency side, we do PPC, paid social, things like that. And then obviously the SEO component. So like I said, it's about a 70-30 sort of split as far as the revenue that we bring in. And then on the PPC SEO side, as far as clientele, we are not super niche down at this time. We are looking to move into more of a focus niche kind of in manufacturing because that one's been pretty good for us. But we have at the moment, we have a sort of a variety of clients. We have everything from engineering client to a rafting client, a whitewater rafting client, all the way up to fitness clients. So, and also some financial services. So a little bit of a mixed bag, right? Currently,
Would you say that these clients are more on the higher end of towards the budget, or medium end, lower end? Where do you
yeah,
where would
they're
you say?
probably they're most definitely on the lower to medium end,
Okay.
right? So, it's kind of the position of they have probably heard about SEO. They know they need to do something. They want to try something. And to that point, we've got to be very mindful of their dollars. As you know, it's not a super quick return on your investment. So
Sure.
that is always the challenge. And I'm sure, people watching this have that same challenge too, is you really have to educate, educate, educate and sell the value in what you're doing and get the buy-in and really make them understand, why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. How long have you been using Pop?
So I'd have to go look at the purchase date. I personally vetted it before I brought it in-house. I think I had it for maybe 4 months, maybe a little bit longer, just testing it, getting my head wrapped around it. And then I brought it into the agency and said, hey, this is a no-brainer. We absolutely need this. So I think I'd have to go look at it when we purchased it, but I think 2 years, coming up on
Right
2 years.
on. Right on.
So
When you
yeah.
integrate into your workflow, can you talk a little bit about how that kind of happened in terms of what
Sure.
you're doing, and how you brought that in?
Yeah, so as I learned about the software, I was pretty amazed that it was like doing so many things that I was manually doing and kind of like didn't even really, correlate because I didn't know it existed yet. So, what I loved about it is like when I would be doing a targeted piece and keyword research, I would go out, look at the SERPs, I would scrape the results, I would have these big long spreadsheets where, okay, result one, here's their H1s, H2s, here's what they're talking about, here's all the sections, here's what they got. And then I would just try to like take a look at that, look at, okay, this is what's being talked about, this is what Google likes, what's relevant to my client, where can we borrow and rebuild this, right? So it's doing all of that manually, and then putting all that back together into like a base outline, and then saying, all right, we got a solid base to do an outline, let's go plug in the content, and then either write it myself or give it to the writers, whatever that sort of looked like at that time. Using Pop, it's basically doing all that, only better, and it really just like sped up the workflow. And I even checked it a couple of times against like, okay, here's what I did. What did it kick out? What's it seeing? And it was very reassuring to know that like this tool is doing almost like apples to apples mirror image, like I said, but better because I'm getting all of the like the TF-IDF stuff, and all the frequencies and like all of that stuff on the back end, which is great, or it's not the back end, but the report. So I was very encouraged that like it's taking what I'm doing infinitely quicker and many steps beyond, so I can build off of what I've already been doing. And as far as like how that goes into the workflow, it just sped things up so much.
I absolutely love that you were doing it by hand, because that's how Pop started. We were doing it by hand.
Right.
It was one of the things like at the the Shark Tank, or we knew there had to be a better way. And that's how then it turned into the SaaS tool that it is, was because we realized that doing it by hand isn't scalable.
No, it's not.
Do so much.
Right. And I think probably something for viewers to understand is, back to the budgets of the clients, right? So if you're paying me to give you a very optimized piece of content, and I'm spending X number of hours figuring all of that out, kind of in the same manner that Pop would do, it really, you start to get to this point where it's really impacting the budget, and it is just killing your content velocity. Like you just can't scale when you're doing it manually. So, that's just another drop in the bucket for Pop, and the one thing that I love about it too is the edge analysis, right? So that's definitely something that I probably was not computing in my spreadsheets and in my mind and stuff. So again, just taking it to that next level. So
very cool. And then while we're singing the praises of Pop, do you have a particular feature that is your favorite?
Honestly, there's so many good ones. Maybe I'll go with some of the most useful ones. The content brief's excellent, right? Because I can look at it, remove anything that may not be applicable, such as like brands and things like that, kick it over to the writers and say, here you go. I love the content editor. That is amazing for if we bring on some people that are just freelancing. Love it. It's super easy. Like, we don't have to set them up with passwords and user accounts and any of that. And they can go and follow the content brief, follow our internal workflows, and just go to town. And what's really nice about that is I can say, don't kick it back to us until you get to this point, right? And then we'll review it. And they're just free to work. And it makes it super easy without having to set up user accounts. I absolutely love that feature.
Awesome.
I also like Watchdog's Killer. I don't have it running on everything. I need to go in and take a look and set it up on some, but I love that, because it's just another tool that is like, okay, here's my earmark time to go circle back and check everything that we've been doing. And, are we doing good? Have we got knocked down a bit? And just to have that automated, again, it goes back to that point that I just made about saving your clients money for the time that you're investing on what you're doing for them. And at the tier that probably a lot of people are working at, that $1,500, $2,500 a month sort of client, I mean, that is amazing. It saves a lot of time.
Yeah. I love it.
It's got so many awesome bells and whistles. I mean, I myself am probably in that sort of like 80-20 category where, I use the 20% really well to do, our internal workflows, but I am really excited to spend more time with it, digging into some of the other stuff too. Like it's just got so many cool features.
Excellent. All right, let's move into the meat and potatoes of this.
Sure.
So what we're going to be talking about is a success story, essentially, like how you implemented Pop on it with a particular client and the results of that. But let's talk about what type of client was this? Like, what was their niche? Were they e-commerce? Did they sell stuff, or were they
Sure.
affiliate, or were they kind of a brand play? What type of site was it?
Yeah, so it's an e-commerce site that sells fitness equipment, primarily dumbbells and barbells and plates, things of that nature. They originally started out as a B2B company with a little bit of B2C, but they made a push to go more B2C, which is where they definitely needed some help on just the SEO visibility side because that space is pretty cutthroat. You got a lot of like major players in that just dominate the SERPs.
So B2C, that was kind of like maybe their why they hired you was to kind of that shift from B2B to B2C and to get those types of keywords.
Correct. We were already they had already hired us to do paid, so it
Okay.
was kind of like they also, we definitely it was getting a little bit lopsided on the amount of revenue that the paid side was bringing in. So, trying to keep our clients' best interests in mind, it's like, hey guys, we need to like throttle this a bit and start just getting some more traffic from the organic side to just get on the
Hmm.
site and start buying things and browsing around. Um, so that's when they decided, okay, we'll do some SEO services, and we just said, hey, here's what we see, here's what we want to do as far as trying to like make you competitive in this space, and that's where they brought in the SEO side of it.
And for, as you mentioned, you on the medium to smaller type budget, that's the type of client this was as well, a typical budgeted type client for you.
Correct, for their SEO, they're probably around 2,000 a month.
Okay. So I think the main point, kind of as you discussed, this wasn't, it's not a 20,000 or $30,000 a month kind of
Mm,
client, and
no, that's it.
some decisions have to be made and they have to be
Mhm.
economical in
Yep.
their in the how you're applying them. Okay.
Correct, for sure.
All right. So then let's talk about then the process here. So we're going to target. Are we targeting product pages? Are we looking at specific type of roundup pages? Kind of what type of pages are we going to go for? And then to use
Yeah,
pop-up.
so we are targeting target ecom pages, right? So we looked at this client and said, all right, what are they about? Kind of went into Search Console. What are they showing up for that's non-branded? And it was definitely lopsided. So not a lot of action on the physical products that they're selling, just in like generic terms, like, oh, barbell, dumbbell, things like that. And I said, okay. So I looked at like what do they sell revenue wise, and determined, okay, they've got a lot of things, but they're primarily a dumbbell company. Right.
Hmm.
So, and then, some other products like start to fall in below that, such as like plates, barbells, things like that. So I said, we're going to focus on dumbbells. We're going to create content that is informational primarily, that's going to support it. And basically, I did, silos pointing to like the target shopping core of the site, right? So lots of dumbbell content pointing back to the dumbbell pages because that's what we want to push up. And absolutely, after we started working on it, saw just a massive increase in impressions, just like retraining the SERPs on. I mean, the SERPs knew what this brand was and what they did, but if you look at the historical data, it's just like, it's like, okay, we really understand now. They're just getting like a ton of impressions for what we were targeting. So
Were the pages that you're running through Pop? Were you running the target pages themselves? Because you also mentioned the supporting content. Were you optimizing that as well, or just kind of one or the other?
yes, I was actually optimizing the supporting content because really the product pages are pretty cut and dry. This is what it is. Here's the
Sure.
description. Everything else is in line. Not trying to really bloat those pages too much, and those
Sure.
pages do well with branded terms as well. So brand plus item. So they have visibility and some juice on their own, right? So like I said, running this, really dialing in the supporting pages, so they will show up in informational queries and people click through and then get that boost from the supporting pages.
Absolutely love that, because what that's going to do is then create that wide net for you. You're going to start to gain keywords to get as wide a net as possible to start getting that traffic.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's exactly it.
when working with Pop, is there anything you do specifically with semantics or NLP, or do you kind of leave that alone and just kind of focus more on just kind of like main target terms?
So start out with the main target terms for sure, but absolutely look at the NLP terms, and that is something that actually in the content brief I do take the time to highlight those in yellow and say,
Right.
like, I want you to focus on these because I've studied a lot of Corey's information too, and I'm a member of his course as well, and just the things I've learned from him about just the semantics of it all, right? Like that's where it is, right? So we absolutely look at that. The idea is to obviously write the content that's good for the user, but really just like spoon feed it to Google and make those connections, those contextual connections, as clear as possible. I'll give you a good example.
Mm.
Um, we I found a page for this client. the SERPs started serving, there's a thing called a jump box, right? It's a plyometric box. But if you look at the SERPs, it starts to, it kicks back results for automotive battery jump boxes, right? And so there was some verbiage on that page that said like, oh, this jump box is a great tool, blah, 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 right? So like that context of it being a jump box and saying it is a tool, like that is something that's like, we got to correct that because, we're sending, it's picking that up and it's not, I mean, it was kind of understanding the page, but it's like we need to get that out of there, so it's definitively not lumped in with these things. So, yeah, semantics and context all day long for sure.
Very cool. The question that everybody asks: do you have a minimum number that you shoot for on the optimization score to say like, okay, this is optimized and we want to go forward with it?
Yeah, I am comfortable with 75. I'd probably even let it roll at like 70 if it's a client that has a smaller budget, because at the end of the day, I know we've got the title dialed in, the H1's dialed in, we got the main body content dialed in. So if it's not perfect and, you've got to, there's a little bit of give and take, and it really always does come down to the hours and the budgets. So I would rather see something get published and indexed at 70, see where we land, and then circle back, when the month rolls and we have a new bucket of hours or whatever that may be, versus just, kind of stressing over like fine tuning it so much. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the documentation says to try to get it to like an 85, but I've had great success with 70, 75.
So then for this particular project, just a quick wrap up on what you did. We've got some target pages, but we're not really going to do too much of those because they're kind of generic and kind of
Correct.
like how they're set up. And you've got a series of what we're calling supporting pages. And what you've done is some interlinking with these. You're linking up to those target pages, but you're using POP on those to optimize. That's about what we've done, right? And we're hitting at least somewhere around a 75 is what we feel good about. We'll probably be a little bit higher, but we're gonna let it roll from there. Is kind of the main idea.
That is correct.
Okay, let's talk about all right, the part that everybody wants to see. So the results. How did we do? And so this was this one for 6 months, I believe. Is that right? It is how long we're working on this?
Yeah. So we kind of we did kind of all of our preliminary research and stuff before we really started writing and doing that. So, just getting our content plan together. So yeah, we started about June of 2023. So,
okay.
But
let's talk about the sexy results.
Yeah, it's been great. There was just at the top level, there was 513% increase in clicks just in that specific section, right?
Wow.
And then over 200% increase in the impressions of that section as well. So that alone, and like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, when I go into Search Console and just look at the impression shift of the non-branded terms that we're looking for, to me, that's the biggest win. Like, it's for us, it's sort of a crawl, walk, run sort of scenario, especially with this client, because like I said, they're up against major players that everybody's heard of, So to me, that was just a great win because you just kind of see it go like this. It's not necessarily a sexy Matt Diggity traffic boner, if you will. You can cut that if you need to, but it's also not affiliate. So
no, and I think that's also your results are real results. In the sense of
they are.
That this is this is something you can strive for and you can hit, because you also got like featured snippets as well, so you're able to get into those areas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to kind of dovetail into. So we got a lot of like extra benefits off of just the initial goal of what we were doing. We got all these other benefits like featured snippets, etc. So yeah, at one point in December we had 7, and that was great. I know some people don't like featured snippets because they are adverse to like, the click-through ratio. Like, I love it. Like, that's the goal. We want to be seen. We want people to see the brand, and if they click, great. But you're getting that visibility in the SERPs, and from those specific articles, they did pull a lot of traffic. So the feature snippet in our case was great.
That's awesome. And you'd have to think too, as you mentioned, they're non-branded terms, so you're not, those are the ones that's what you want. Because if somebody's not specifically searching for your brand, but they're searching for this product in general or this thing in general, and now you're getting a click.
Correct. And that's the client's biggest challenge is the people that are brand aware, they're kind of in the middle. They know the brand, they're considering looking at some products and maybe purchasing. But that was their biggest struggle, is just they were not getting in the results for a lot of the non-branded terms that correlate with their products. So as of the time of this recording, we're getting 6 featured snippets from these articles that we've optimized with POP. Actually, the highest was in November. We had 7, but then we lost 1. We've got 4 non-branded keywords ranking in the number 1 position. We've got 13 non-branded keywords in the top 3 positions, and then we have a total of 106 non-branded keywords ranking in the top 10 positions. So again, just to kind of close this out, it's performing well for us, and again, bringing in a decent amount of traffic and visibility for the client compared to where they used to be, and the client is quite happy with the results. So again, thank you for watching.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations, man. That's
Oh,
fantastic.
thank you. Yeah.
That's really fantastic. That's
Thank
great.
you. Thank you for building the tool that helped us achieve these results, for sure.
You're the reason we did it. You're the
I thought so.
That's awesome. So, Tim, if people want to get in touch and they want to talk about maybe you handling a project for them, or some questions about maybe what you did here, or just anything in SEO, perhaps,
Sure.
how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find us at our agency website. It is edgewebware.com. If you want to get in touch with me specifically, you can just go to the About Us page, and you will see my picture there.
That's awesome.
I'll give you my email address.
The link will be there for it as well. Oh, well, please give the email address, yes.
Yeah, if you want to email me directly, it's tupton, TUPTON, at edgewebware.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. That was excellent, Share.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course.